call 6. Start me 1141 for my partner. You alright, dude?
So there's an unbelievable new trend that police officers across the United States are participating in.
Disturbing video of a sheriff's deputy falling down after briefly handling fentanyl. But some medical experts are not sure this is for real.
I can tell you with essentially 100% with surety that this was not fentanyl poisoning. When people get fentanyl poisoned, they don't just collapse like that. And not moments after an exposure.
He says the deputy's reaction was likely caused by stress, not the drug itself.
You get it once?
47. NIC's ODing. Narcan.
Hey. Breathe. Come on, breathe. Hit her again. Rodney, she's not breathing. Hit her again.
So that video was a police officer pretending to be experiencing some sort of fentanyl overdose. The problem is that you can't actually overdose from fentanyl by touching it. It is a myth that has been debunked countless times in the media. Despite that, however, police officers across the country continue to spin into these panic attacks whenever they even hear the word fentanyl being mentioned, much less see it or touch it. But it's really important to understand why exactly police officers are doing this. You see, police officers in the United States have a very deeply vested interest in making sure that there's as much panic as possible across the nation, so that their police budgets are continuously increasing year over year, despite the fact that crime itself remains relatively stable at fairly low rates. You see, police depend on this type of manufactured fear in order to maintain their budgets and their relative power in society, especially as a response to a growing movement among people on the left to demand the abolition or defunding of police, with the specific aim of replacing police departments or taking money away from the police department in order to put it to other institutions that would actually be helpful. Which is why this is so shameless that so many police officers are doing this, because the reality is things like support for people who are struggling with addiction, things like social workers and other care workers to help people manage their addiction to hopefully prevent overdoses, people who actually work in the field of harm reduction, those are the people that police officers don't want their budgets defunded and going towards. The people who would actually save people's lives. Because there is an opioid epidemic around the United States. And fundamentally, people are dying on a daily basis as a result of overdosing from fentanyl. But instead of actually centering the actual victims of the opioid crisis, of course, police officers have to make themselves the center of attention and do everything they can to keep money from going to people that would actually be able to help. Making what is already a ridiculous display from police officers across the country into a very cynical undermining of a real public health effort to actually do something about the opioid epidemic. Because we have to remember that budget decisions are decisions of morality. And when we choose to funnel all of our money into militarization of the police, instead of actual harm reduction techniques and harm reduction systems, then we are actively choosing to let people suffer under our system instead of doing anything to help them. And simply throwing people in jail whenever our system fails them too much for people to bear.